Hey, what is up, guys? It is Gospel here, and this time I'm coming to you with a video about SWGEmu. A few days ago, there was a post made called Frozen 80Ks, and for those who don't know, there was something called the Clone Wars, in which there was a massive dupe of numerous items that had to be deleted from the server. So a few weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago, or maybe a week ago, I don't really remember, I lose track of time, I started seeing posts in Imperial Discord that like, oh my gosh, my 180K doesn't work or whatever, and it was like, or it's flagged or whatever, and people figured Dupegate 2.0 was coming, but it seems like maybe this is a dupe that was left over, so maybe some 80Ks left over. Anyways, I wasn't going to really make a post, or sorry, a video about this, but they deleted my post, and I'm going to make some points that I think people will agree with, and I think staff really need to address and perhaps change their tune when talking about the game and its health and all this other stuff. So first, we're going to go through the post. Frozen 80Ks. During the course of normal audits, I found a large number of 80Ks. This is by Lord Cater, by the way. I found a large number of 80Ks with sequential object IDs. This is almost impossible to happen by chance, and in the past it's happened when people figured out ways to clone items. On a regular basis, real life permitting the time, I run various audits and continue to write new ones. Recently, I scanned all 14,725 80Ks on Basilisk and found 137 that are in blocks of sequential object IDs, i.e. 001, 002, 003, 004. Now, if you don't know how the dupe worked before, people were pulling them out of crates. So you would basically be spawning 80Ks in a sequential order. That is basically, it's like chronological. Like if it were to happen legitimately, there would have to be like, you know, like 25 veterans all lined up in a row, timing out getting their 80Ks at the same time. So obviously that doesn't happen. So clearly there's a duped 80K problem, and that 80Ks are one of the easiest to catch because it is a 1-year veteran reward, where a lot of other things like components and foods and whatnot can be pulled out of an 80K and have sequential ID, or sorry, a crate, pulled out of a crate and have sequential object IDs, and that doesn't mean it's duped, it just means it's pulled out of a crate. So those are harder to catch. Anyways, in the Clone Wars debacle, I was not able to find every single invalid object. This has been discussed at length, mainly because we did not have Eye of Sauron logging or the tools to detail what had happened. We deleted as many duped items as we could find by using knowledge of the exploit, and some steps they had to go through left behind artifacts we could use to find cloned items. However, for a short period of time, they covered their tracks and deleted the interim item, and that made it difficult to find the items they had deleted. It was decided while we investigate these 80Ks, we should set them as no trade to avoid the people with them from scamming more people by selling them to them in-game or worse via real money transactions. Items involved in this investigation are marked no trade, and when you examine them, you will see one of these messages. Staff have blocked this item from being traded. Staff have blocked the anti-decay kit on this item from being traded. If you have a couple of these on your character that you bought from someone, I would suggest you ask them for a refund immediately. You can prove to them it's a problem by providing them with a screenshot. We did not do a blanket ban because the assumption is some people may have bought these 80Ks unknowingly and are actually victims of this heinous crime. We will use the Eye of Sauron logging system and tools to analyze each item's history. Many of the accounts involved were already banned in the Clone Wars. However, some remain active, and we are investigating those to decide on the next steps. You will receive an in-game email if any of your 80Ks are removed due to this investigation. If the 80K is attached to an item, it will be removed, and the item it was attached to will remain in-game. Thank you for your patience. We will be removing these items from the game as soon as we have concluded our investigation. So this is kind of cool that they are able to get rid of 80Ks without deleting the item. That's actually really solid. However, I wanted to go through this thread a little bit because this, the first Dupegate, I believe it did have some toll on the server's health, population-wise. You know, a lot of innocent players had their stuff deleted, and that's unfortunate because, you know, you put time into a game, and yeah, the server's supposed to wipe at some point, which we'll talk about, but you do put time into the game and the server isn't wiping, and just you got screwed because you bought a duped item from someone unknowingly, and that sucks. So I think that hurt part of the game. So there's some replies here. Woo, my ADKs are in the clear. Thank you. Someone asking a question that Lord Cater is asking. Tim Allen suggested, I appreciate the detective work. Seems like it would just be easier to wipe it clean and start over though, huh? Then people would just cheat again? Wouldn't it be better to use the test server to find these before launching? People aren't asking. I think Lord Cater, the problem is Lord Cater is out of tune with the player base, I think. He's not understanding why Tim Allen is asking for a wipe. Tim Allen isn't asking for a wipe because there's duped items. Clearly, they just stated they got rid of the duped items. Tim Allen's asking for a wipe because the server has items on it that should not exist, that used to be possible to exist. Like, for example, Livy2K, if you're familiar with that character on the forums, who's a friend of mine, keeps posting his 295 Acklay bone hammers that still exist. Those will not exist on 1.0. Those just won't exist. It's really impossible to get those bones anymore. At one point it was possible. Now it's impossible. Jabascopes on weapons with higher min than they should have, and higher maxes. An abundance of legendaries due to a bug in a certain patch or a typo or something. Like, it's just, there's like a lot of crazy stuff on the server, and that's why Tim Allen is asking for a wipe. With a wipe, you would have 6 months of no Jedi. It'd be a whole year before ADKs are brought back. And so this guy is asking for a wipe, and so Lord Cater has no idea why people are asking for a wipe. I mean, I've heard it from crafters, I've heard it from combatant tunes, I've heard it from everybody about why they're not playing Basilisk, and it's clear there's reasons for that. I mean, you look at the population of Basilisk, which I will post later, and it's not healthy. It's killing the game. So we're going to continue reading. So here's another thing Lord Cater posts. He seems out of touch with Tim Allen here. And then he comes down here. Walking Carpet says, good move. ADK should stay no trade, right? Okay, so that's one solution that's been proposed for ADKs. Although I don't like that solution, but we're not here to talk about the solution for ADKs. Lord Cater says, only the 137 we found to be questionable are blocked from trade right now. The rest are pre-CU 14.1 emulation. Frown. So he seems to be acknowledging right here that he knows that the current game is in such a state that it's unhealthy to have these items in the game. He knows that. He absolutely knows that. Why would he put a frowny face otherwise? You can speculate a lot from emojis, and I think this is true. He knows that 14-point emulation is unhealthy for the game, that it's bad for the players. Now, we've been told numerous times that the reason that there's 10 players or 10 characters allowed per account on Basilisk is so that players are encouraged, I guess, to make one of everything. And by more players playing more classes, they find more bugs. And that's just, I mean, that's just how it is. It is. I mean, that's true. That's true. That's the facts. So let's scroll down. Omek, retired SWGEmu staff. Now, I don't know if Omek has beef with Lord Cater or Lord Cater has beef with Omek. It doesn't actually matter. What matters is what the public sees, what new players would see when they come into this game and they look at the forums and they're checking it out. They're like, wow, I'm really interested in playing this. Maybe I'll play this. Omek says, just wipe the damn server already. It's so messed up. How can you expect people to keep playing on the play server, aka the test server? Back in the day, there was a test server and a play server. Not sure when that changed, but you are just driving people away. 1.0 is the goal, but if there's nobody at the finish line, then what's the point? I agree with Omek 100%. There is a test server. There's been multiple test servers over the time, but there is a test server, and it is weird that Basilisk will not wipe. And I'm going to explain why it's weird that Basilisk won't wipe, but we're going to continue on here. So Lord Cater gives this passive-aggressive answer, in my opinion. It says, you are more than welcome to push code. We have lots to do. Looking forward to your contribution. So this is a really fucking passive-aggressive answer that I wasn't too happy with, to be honest. It's not, it basically is code or quit bitching, which is not at all what Omek asked for. He asked for a wipe. He wasn't asking for a feature to be implemented or for ADKs to be repurposed. He just said, wipe the server. That doesn't really involve coding. It just involves taking the server, wiping the database, and rebooting it up. Boom. So this was a really snobby, passive-aggressive answer in my opinion, so I replied. I said, staff doesn't seem to care about the population for the time being. Vlada used to drive that point home often, and he did. Vlada, SWGEmu staff, maybe he still is in some capacity, I don't know. He used to talk about how they don't care if there's players. So I'm like, okay, if you don't care, well, if you don't care, then there won't be players eventually. So 14.1 is the goal, and it doesn't matter if it drives players away in the process or not. And then I quoted him where he said the rest are pre-CU 14.1 emulation. I said, you even seem to acknowledge that there are big problems with 14.1 / pre-CU. You, the devs, could do something about it, but choose not to. Why? Wasn't the decision made to let people have 10 character slots on Basilisk so that more things would get tested and more bugs found? If so, why not care about the player numbers? Less people playing equals less chance of bugs being found, which is true. Why not find some sort of compromise that will bring players back and also let the project continue development? So this thing about less people playing equals less chance of bugs being found. Sometimes bugs are being found and people aren't reporting them. That's the other thing. And it requires having honest players that will report them. And I'm going to go into that as well. Glennack, he's also retired SWGEmu staff, replied and said, any development project must have goals and guideline. I agree. You should have goals, but your goals are killing the game, killing the population. If you start changing these goals every now and then, it can last forever. I'm pretty sure 14.1 is the goal for 1.0, but then we will see fixes, improvements, and new content. And that's great. That's great. Post 1.0, great. I'm for it. However, right now, the game is dying, and the numbers reflect that. Anyone who played around when Jedi launched, there was like 1,400 players online at once. It was crazy. There was a lot of people everywhere. I hadn't seen that server so active since when I joined Basilisk in 2012, late 2012. I've been on the EMU project since 2008. I've played Nova, I've played Liberator. I hadn't seen that active since 2012, and that's because they introduced something new into the game. So why not make a compromise? I've made that before. So anyways, so Jaws, who is a CSR, is currently staff, replies this he quoting Glenat, says this thread doesn't have to descend into the same argument that crops up on Basilisk fortnightly. So, okay, so they know this is a common problem. People have been asking, and tons of people have been asking for a wipe forever. I mean, a lot of people. There was a scare where Basilisk, well, it wasn't a scare. It was actually people joyous and happy. Basilisk had a problem, and this was a few years ago, where Basilisk had a problem, and it almost, they were thinking like, the server might have been corrupted, like the database might have been corrupted, we gotta wipe the server, potentially. And people were so cheering for it. Discord was lit, the forums were lit, people were just like, wipe it, wipe it, wipe it. I mean, it was really funny. But anyways, it was simply created for some transparency to inform players that on the off chance you notice a red flagged ADK/item, that there was/is a reason why. Be aware that this affects a very small number of players, since most of the flagged ADKs reside on just a few accounts. Any sort of hysterics implying a change, and this is a really fucking ridiculous statement, any sort of hysterics implying a change, of course, at this point, are only self-serving. Are they really only self-serving when your whole population is dying? We're nearly there, guys. No point in moving the goalposts now. We've been hearing we're nearly there for years. That is not an exaggeration. That's true. And I replied to this thread, and I replied to Jaws, and they deleted my post and then locked the thread. I replied, just quoting, we're nearly there, guys. And I said, Sun Crusher 2009. Sun Crusher 2009 is a meme in the SWGEmu community about the server Sun Crusher that was supposed to launch a long time ago. Some early ETA, and obviously that never happened. That was supposed to be like 1.0 or whatever. We've been hearing we're nearly there for literally years, and it's not happening. And so when new players come in and they see staff posting saying we're nearly there, oh, then if we're almost there, why would I create a character for a server that's about to wipe? I've actually talked to people like this. Like I've met players in other servers. I won't mention other servers, but they're like, yeah, SWGEmu is going to wipe soon anyway, so why would I make a character there? They literally think that. They see this shit on the forums and they think, why would I play there? So now you're discouraging other players by keep saying soon, 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 soon. You repeat the same thing over and over again. It never happens. Players don't join the server because when they're checking out and like seeing like, is it worth making a character right now? How long does this play? Oh, it's in beta? Well, let me see. How long before beta is over? Oh, soon? Well, I guess I just won't make a character. We're nearly there, guys. We've been nearly there for a while. We look at SWGEmu the next decade, okay? This post was made in February 1st, 2020, before this year got real bad. And I just want to point out like one thing from it. Control F beta. All right. Says we are now moving from the development phase of the project to beta as we march towards the much anticipated official post 1.0 launch. It says Skirby, Forelli, and Lord Cater will be the Council of Three and will endeavor to move the project forward as we transition from the development to beta. Moving forward as we shift into the beta phase of the project. Okay, so interesting thing about the beta is that they didn't wipe. They even say in this post they're not going to wipe. But it's a beta phase, and I want to remind the devs what happened when Basilisk came up and what they were calling that. Let's go to the end of Liberator milestone. Now, this post is from 2012, okay? So this is right before... right before the Basilisk server got put up. So you have the end of Liberator milestone, which means SWGEmu is ready for alpha testing. What happens when the end of Liberator milestone is finally reached? It says stress testing period will last minimum 1 month, yada yada yada. Let me see. Control F wipe. Oh yeah, we are about 1 month from the Liberator wipe. Look at this. All this wipe to develop to go into alpha. They wiped, but to go into beta, they don't wipe. That doesn't really make any consistent sense. And we've always been, I mean, look at all these people that were happy about a wipe. Like you look through these threads and they're just like, man, wow, this is great. Almost made it. Ah, this is yay. Woo. Look at all these people hyped for a wipe. I mean, in 2012, when games didn't really have servers that wiped. I mean, you have like, progression servers and whatnot on nowadays, and wiping wasn't really a thing. Rust was, wipes all the time now. You have new leagues and Path of Exile, which are almost like wipes. And then they reached the milestone and they had the Liberator wipe, Basilisk and This is where they announced Basilisk coming up. And the people are ecstatic about a wipe. I mean, they just love that stuff. I mean, look at this. It brought so many players to the game, back to the game. I mean, it was crazy. There was a lot of players back then. And a lot of these people you don't see anymore. And why don't you see them anymore? You don't see them anymore because the content has been stale going on over 9 years. That's why. So I wanted to talk about why player population is important for testing. I mean, if they, as Lord Cater said, they want to keep testing and finding all these cheats and exploits and stuff. There was one exploit that was fixed very, very recently, and it's actually crazy because so many people have been banned for exploiting in this game that I've seen, and people actually recorded themselves using this exploit, uploaded it to YouTube, and they were never banned for it. And it just got fixed recently. Actually, from what I understand, it was fixed a while ago on a on the test server, and they just didn't push it to live. And then people started using it in PvP. I actually mentioned it to Hackery. After I mentioned to Hackery, I guess that pushed some button or something, and it got fixed like within 2 days or something like that. And that exploit was multi-attacking. And what's crazy about this exploit is that it's been sitting on Livy2K's profile, and I'm not saying Livy used it. I don't think he did. I played with Livy a lot. I'm not saying Livy's an exploiter. What I am saying is that this post right here from Mr. Mo42, whoever that is, I have no idea, was from September 30th, 2015. So this exploit has been known for over 5 years, and it only got fixed this year. And that's because this guy, Mr. Mo, didn't report it. And I don't know if Livy used it or didn't and like tested it to see if it worked or whatever. But this is a multi-attack exploit where you can do multiple attacks in a single second. I mean, I'm talking like I can post a video of it. Actually, a video of it is on my channel. It's called It Begins. There was a guy who used it straight on while I was streaming and used it in PvP and killed a Jedi with it. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. So you need honest players. And with a dwindling population, you're not going to catch as many bugs. You're just not. So I don't understand why there isn't a compromise. People aren't necessarily asking for content. They're asking for modifications to ADKs. They're asking for modifications to resource deeds. And I just think that the way some staff is handling it is terrible. And it's pushing new players away because the server is so legacy, right? Like if you were in the old days and you got gear now, I have gear you're never going to loot. It's just, I'm just going to say it. Yeah, this video gets 3,000 views. Maybe your children will loot it, but you're not going to get my loot. It's just not going to happen. Recreating my stuff. It is crazy to me that they don't do something about this. And I think the way that some staff is treating it is really bad, like on public eyes when people come to look at the project. And I don't know. I like SWGEmu a lot, and I know the devs do a lot of work. I know that. However, the population's dying and the game's not fun. You know what I mean? Like it's becoming a real problem. So that's my thoughts for today. Hope y'all are having a good day. Good night. I'll catch you later. Peace.